You are Locked On Hawks Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good evening, Hawks Nation, diehard Hawks fans. Appreciate you guys for joining me for yet another episode of the official Locked On Hawks Postcast. It is I, of course, DeShaun Tate, leading the way, driving the bus on the evening. Appreciate you guys for checking in after the unfortunate set of circumstances where the Atlanta Hawks, after leading by 17 points in the third quarter, I think 18 points was the max deficit over the Chicago Bulls, in which the Chicago Bulls found a way to storm back and in a 125 to 113 effort. Another win for the Chicago Bulls in a rematch of where Atlanta appeared to have been trying to get a little bit of revenge after that was the last team that they had saw in the play-in game to get into the playoffs on last year. So looks like if they want revenge, they're going to have to try to seek it for another day. Obviously, the Atlanta Hawks on the second game of a back-to-back with just a few days rest before they get ready to Boston. Got my dude Raphael Haynes joining me on the evening, the owner and host of the 3-Point Conversion from the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge podcast that will air every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And obviously on the evening, we're going to be talking a little bit about, in our first segment, about the reaction to the keys. I got a chance to pick Raphael's brain a little bit prior to the game, see what he was looking forward to the most, and just some of the things that he thought that the Hawks would need to do if they wanted to secure a win on tonight. And I'll give a couple of mine as well. Then, of course, in the second segment, we always talk about, the best teams having multiple options outside of the regular go-tos. That being Trae Young and another player, but who's the third option for this team? I think most people would admit that Jalen Johnson is probably the second option. Who's the third option? That still remains to be seen. But me and Raphael will kind of, dissect who we think that should be, who we think it could be, who it should have been so far this long into the season. And of course, last but certainly not least, with the Emirates In-Season Tournament coming up, the very first game, the Atlanta Hawks are going to go on the road to a familiar opponent that they played with over the course of the last week, the Boston Celtics, after just concluding their fifth game in 7 days. So all of that to come. And definitely want to let you guys know first that we have to inform you that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That is Locked On NBA, LOCKED on NBA, Locked On NBA, to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Raphael, let's get into this first segment. We definitely talked a little bit about some things that this team needed to do. You definitely mentioned that they needed to be a team that plays fast, and speaking of fast, being a team that starts fast as well. And I would imagine that also meaning they need to be the ones to punch Chicago first. We'll get into the third point that you made first, but kind of break down how good of a job you think that this team did in terms of playing fast and getting off to a fast start.
I thought they did well. Actually, the way they came out, like you said, they punched them in the face. They came out early with a 10-point lead, very early, and proceed to build that lead. And I mean, honestly, that's what you want. They had a lead all the way up till last 5 minutes of the game. So they did what they were supposed to do. And when I said get out fast, basically talking about in the first quarter, and they did that and they sustained that. So they get A+ when it comes to that part. It's just that, as you mentioned, when it's a back-to-back, those legs get tired, especially when, that game came down essentially, to the end last night. So so they did what they were supposed to do, and it was very refreshing to see that, especially a team that needed that, to come out. And I'm pretty sure that's what Quin wanted. And they came out and did exactly that. So yeah, they did it. Just like you said, the last 5 minutes of the game hurt them.
I thought that was the part that was really clear, is just the fatigue and how tired they were. And one thing we don't do on this program is we don't make excuses, and we don't believe in, moral victories and things like that. But the reality is that we are not only are we talking about, and it's just being realistic, like not only are we talking about the second game of a back-to-back, and I would be really interested if anybody out there has been able to do their homework or wants to do their homework, kind of challenging some of the listeners out there and the folks that are watching. Appreciate. I know Daniel Barry is watching, also the hygienist, or anyone else. Is there any other team that within this very small stint of 11 games that have had 3 back-to-back games already so far this season? Like, I just feel like that's a lot. That's over half of the games that have been played, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I again, not an excuse, not a single excuse made, but I just personally feel like that's a lot. And it just definitely doesn't help with this being a team that has been consistently missing key contributors to it. And you just really not knowing. I mean, at this point, even guys like Beat Krejci, which I always joke and make fun of and call him number 99, and he really probably doesn't even really have a last name on the back of his uniform, and just kind of poking fun and teasing at him a little bit. But even instances where you don't have a player like him to just give you a couple of minutes on the floor, it's almost like if you didn't have your Keaton Wallace, who's playing backup point guard right now, because you don't have Kobe Buffkin and stuff like that. Like, all of those things are things that matter, right? And so, you take all that you can get right now at this point. Another thing that you mentioned, Raphael, was the fact that they just really apparently couldn't really that what they would have to do is to slow down the backcourt, right? So on tonight, you got 49 points out of just the 3 starters in the backcourt, because they run a 3-guard offense, being Zach Lavine, Kobe White, and Josh Giddey. And that's just amongst the backcourt starters. We ain't even getting into the Ayo Dosunmus and the Dalen Terrys and some of the other guys, Javon Carters and whatever. How good of a job. So in terms of slowing down the backcourt, based off of just what you saw, let's just throw the numbers out of the window, or you can add the numbers, Raphael. What is the letter grade that you give them for that key component that you thought that they needed to do in order to secure the victory, which is to slow down the backcourt? Give me a letter grade for how good of a job you think the Hawks did and why.
It's tricky because it's not an excuse, but again, the first 3 quarters of the game, they did that. First 3 quarters and some, they did that. The only person that really got off was Zach Lavine. Kobe White shot horribly. He didn't shoot well until the 4th quarters, when he kind of, got a couple of threes and he got fouled and things like that. But Josh Giddey he was all right. So if you're talking about those 3, for the most part, I believe that's why they had that lead and was able to keep that lead. But as you mentioned, the other guys that came in, they were the ones that really pushed the Bulls and helped the Bulls come back and surge back. But for the most part, the first 3 quarters of this game, they did a good job in holding the backcourt. Okay, I don't expect them to hold all of them. If Lavine comes out and he scores what he did, and he really didn't go off per se, but sure. He was pretty hot. You think he started like 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. But it was just, everybody else is okay. We let him score, but everybody else, we don't let him go. We don't let them get off. And even with Lavine, he didn't get out of control. So I thought they did a very good job. But that 4th quarter, those legs, and Chicago was fresh, and it just is what happened. So if I had to give them a letter grade, I'd give them a B-. Only reason I give them the B- is because of the fact that they let them come back. They were able to, the time when they needed to keep them down, they didn't, and so that's what caused them to lose. So I'll give them a B-. Letter grade.
Nah, I definitely, I can maybe see some of that. I guess, you kind of have to put and add context to a lot of, what we're talking about in terms of looking at everything just with if you're looking at it with a broad brush, or if you're really going to get into the specifics and the semantics of it all, right? So in terms of slowing down the backcourt, I don't think they did that great of a job. However, there were some instances where I do believe that, you have to put an asterisk on it because it was Zach Lavine's first game back, and, just different stuff like that. Some of the guys probably didn't shoot it as well. But it was just something about that backcourt that is just always speedy and wanting to get up and down and playing defense. I mean, think about it. Like when I was talking before about Trae Young and some of the defenders that he's had to play up against so far, this season, when you start talking about the, Lou Dort and Koulibaly from Washington and Drew Holiday from Boston, and it's just like the list goes on and on with some of the better. I mean, you take your pick on whatever defender you want from the Knicks. They won the game, but yet still, Trae had a difficult time in some cases with just different types of defenders and elite defenders that he's had on him. Well, tonight, Ayo Dosunmu was one of those defenders. Javon Carter, who's very familiar with Trae Young from their days playing in the Big 12. He's a really good defender as well. There's another guy who I'm just completely missing his name right now. But no, he's just had his fair share at different defenders. And I think a couple of the things that I, kind of was looking at in terms of the keys to the game, things that I thought that they really needed to do was, learn their Ayo lesson. So Ayo Dosunmu being a guy that kind of torched them late last year in a lot of the matchups and meetings that they had. He finished the game on tonight with 19 points, only missed 3 shots. Get Zachary Risachet, get him involved early and often. I think that's always a good trait and just good remedy to have. I don't know if they was putting Zach on Zach for a reason to start this game, which I thought was a mistake. I don't know if they put the Australian Dyson Daniels on Giddey because they're both Australian for a reason. But this whole time, I just definitely should have thought that our best defender, being Dyson Daniels, who credit to him, finished with 6 steals, entering the game with 25, most leading in the NBA, should have been guarding Zach Lavine, because it just only seems right. Your best defender is guarding probably their best player on the floor. And then I think the other thing is to take advantage of not having Andre Drummond for once. The guy who just seems like he's always killing you in the front court and in the paint. Didn't have him. He left. And, it's not like Vucevic is the best defensive player in the world. By the way, you got Buzelis, who I love his game as young and as he is. Definitely being the type of player that is inexperienced. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. So on the other side, Raphael, we're going to get into is talk about something that is just kind of intriguing to me. Talking about the third option on this team, scoring option that is. Who should it be? We know about Trae. We know about Jalen Johnson, but who should that third option be? We'll put together a list of just a few names on the other side of the break. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less, in that case, you're totally up to you, your choice, on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 10 times your cash. That's right. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now not only win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks, but Prize Picks is also the best way to get in on the action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, another very sunny state. Texas, another one, warm weather, and even here in Georgia, where me and Raphael are both located. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so that if your lineup stay play, then even if one of your players maybe gets injured or something along those lines, if your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup alive. So Prize Picks is also the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and make sure that you sign up today, folks. Don't waste any time. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED on NBA, Locked On NBA, to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And of course, your people here just representing FanDuel. If you're tired of waking up extra early, bright and early every Sunday morning, trying to figure out that's going to be coming up here, in less than 24 hours. And I know that everybody's going to be looking forward to maybe where they can go and put in some of their bets. So instead of waking up super early, trying to figure out how and where to go and place your bets, even the delayed text message replies that you get from your own personal bookie that just so happen to conveniently be when it's time to cash out, even searching for a home to place a lot of your big money bets for your money line spreads and even over-unders on your Thursdays for Thursday night football, Sundays for Sunday nights and Sunday afternoons, or for the big one on Mondays that cap off the work week. Never fear. Of course, your solution is here. So get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So get yourself into the hunch in the middle of the game. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you can place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Remember, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Raphael, coming back for our second segment. We talk so much about the team needs, what this team needs, all the above, so on and so forth. The scoring isn't necessarily something I think that you always just have to have, as they're still trying to figure out who they are in terms of creating an identity for themselves on the defensive end, because we know that that's ultimately what's going to win you the most and the quickest. I feel like establishing that defensive side, or maybe not the quickest, but the most in the end game is something I think you establish that defensive side first, and then eventually you let the offense follow. That's just kind of the name of the game, and I think that's the smartest thing to do. With that being said, you've got two really good, impactful offensive players between Trae and Jalen Johnson, but you don't really have that bona fide third scoring option. Who should that player play? I mean, who should that player be? Who did we expect that player to be coming into the season? Because I just know, me personally, between two guys that haven't even seen the floor yet much this season, being Bogey Bogdanovic and DeAndre Hunter, those are the two guys that I've really been relying on the most to step up and stand in the gap. And we haven't been able to see that happen. So I feel like another third option is kind of unrealistic. But for me, whether this guy is considered a third scoring option for this team or not, I know who I need the most out of, especially providing the scoring punch off the bench. And I'm not necessarily getting that from him consistently, and that's Onyeka Okongwu. Who is the player that you think should be, could have been, would be that best scoring option for the Atlanta Hawks, considering if they want to find a way to go on a win streak here, because we haven't seen them put together back-to-back wins since the first 2 games of the season.
And of course, you're speaking about a player that is playing right now, besides
For sure.
Bogey and DeShaun. I mean,
For sure.
but DeAndre.
For sure.
That's tough. I mean, who it should be, I agree. It probably should be Onyeka, just because he's the most experienced. He's been on this team for a while. He knows how to play with Trae. He knows how to play with Jalen. So, and more than likely, he's going to be on the floor with either one of them. So, it should be him. I think who's going to be forced, and we're seeing it being forced, is Zachary. And it's not fair to him because he's a rookie. He's learning how to play. He's learning to adjust just to the NBA. Not as far as playing with his teammates, but to the NBA, and not even the NBA. I mean, it's NBA because it's NBA, but just playing, if I can say, American basketball. It's totally different. The way the ref calls, he's trying to adjust, but at the same time, they're asking him to shoot more. For instance, he had, I think, 15 shots tonight, 15 shots and 14. I'm sorry. Dyson had 15, but Zachary still had 6 free throws. So it lets you know to Dyson's 3 free throws attempt. So it lets you know that he's getting more opportunity to shoot the ball. They want him to shoot. He said it at the press conference the night he scored over 30 points. He said, "Coach told me just shoot the effing ball." I mean, that's exactly what he said. Yeah. So, and I get it because they want him to get comfortable. And I know more than likely Quin is probably, this is not necessarily we need him to score and shoot more so he can score and we can win. It's more of we want him to get more comfortable because later on in the season, that's when it's going to balance out. That's when we're going to need him the most. But I think as a rookie, that's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Shoot, especially coming from France, and you're the number 1 pick, and most guys would relish that. I don't think he relishes that. Different. So it should be Onyeka. It's forced to be Zach. And honestly, at this point, I mean, if Onyeka's not in the ball game when in the fourth quarter when you need your guys the most, it's so sad. It has to be Zach. I mean, I don't think Dyson's a natural scorer. Zachary's more of a natural scorer. He's not scoring a lot right now. He's kind of trying to find his way. But if you look at the shots he take, the way he drives to the basket, it's more natural than Dyson. Dyson, and that's my guy, but Dyson, you kind of cringe when he drives to the basket. I mean, he doesn't look sure sometimes when he take a layup or he drives to, it's like he's just shooting it like, nah, you kind of like, don't, no. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, good job.
Zach, yeah. With Zach is like, oh, he should have had that. That's all right, Zach. Keep going, man. You see what I'm saying? So I think at this point, and it's not fair to him, but it has to be Zach, just the way the lineups are playing out.
No, I can see some of that too. I mean, I think the thing is, sometimes I think I'm the player sometimes that tend to hold my breath a little bit more when it's not so much Dyson Daniels, but when it's Zachary Ricochet. However, I do think that it appears that the knack for scoring and just how easy it comes to him is, I agree with you, more of Zach than it is for Dyson Daniels. And I want to give credit to Dyson Daniels because I don't even know who the 3rd leading scorer is on this team, let alone the scoring option. But I feel like Dyson Daniels is definitely high up there. And that's why this is kind of like insulting for someone like Onyeka Okongwu or someone else, in my opinion. Not that he's the greatest scorer in the world, but because he has the option of being able to be the first option off of the bench, right? When they start putting the second unit in. Now, I know that in theory, that looks a little bit different this year than it does other years previously, because the second unit in many cases has had to be starters this year because of the guys that have been sitting out, as we spoke upon before. But even in that case where Onyeka is going out there with as the second unit player that's out there with third unit guys in some cases.
Right.
And guys are already looking and just feeling more optimistic to me than he is. That's Garrison Matthews. That is who had 23 points, I think, the other night about a week ago. I think we've seen Risa Shea hit for about 33. We've seen Dyson Daniels, who's been putting together some big nights offensively, who's a primary defensive player that we didn't really see that coming. I mean, even we have seen David Roddy has had some really good outings. I feel like that has caught us by surprise. Hell, even who am I thinking of? Because I'm definitely drawing a blank. Larry Nance has been shooting like 85%. Not that he's been putting up 20 points or anything like that, but I think we saw a 13-point, game not too long ago, and even some big time plays. I just feel like bigger plays than I see out of Onyeka. So I don't know, not a personal vendetta against Onyeka by any means, but definitely just kind of wanted to put that out there because the expectations are certainly a lot higher for Onyeka than it is for any of these other guys who I've only seen in an Atlanta Hawks uniform for about 11 games. On the other side of the break, we're going to discuss a little bit just in very short detail because I know that we're up against it in terms of the game that's coming up next, being the Boston Celtics taking place for the Emirates In-Season Tournament, the Cup. As Raphael, if he even likes this idea of this in-season tournament and for the Cup and all that good stuff, because it did have a little bit of twist on it last year, but I'm not sure that I don't like it as much as I do, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that I do, to be honest. So we'll get into some of that very briefly here on the other side of the break. So I did have the opportunity a little bit to have some conversations with some people, which were not necessarily difficult conversations, but I definitely know some people that had tried out the Skims product and trying out some different things, and I mean I'm pretty satisfied with the underwear that I'm wearing. But however, that being said, I'm like, ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of change. Everybody's different. Everybody's trying something a little bit different, and everybody's everybody is their own person. Everybody likes things their own way. Everybody is created differently, is what I mean to say. And because of that, everybody likes different things. Well, different things is what Skims have. If you enjoy the boxer briefs, if you enjoy the cotton briefs, if you enjoy the stretch briefs, so many different options that you have. I think they even have some options for women as well. So for men, for women, you take your pick, especially for the men's underwear. I know that, when sometimes you got to leave yourself a little bit of breathing room, and Skims definitely provides you with more than enough of that. One of these times I'm gonna have to get up myself and go grab me a pair and see how much I like them. I'm sure I won't get a lot of complaints. Be sure to shop for Skims at skims.com. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims has just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. So we know that the holiday season is coming around. Christmas is going to be coming up. You're going to be trying to figure out what to get some of the people in your lives, and things that can just go a long way for you, and something that can be reusable after you throw them in the washer and dryer, of course. And it'll definitely be a Christmas present that will be one that is going to be really hard to forget, if I can't say anything else. It's also available at skims.com, skims.com, skims.com. Go and grab you and your loved ones a pair on today. So be sure to do that, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to leave your family members and significant others very, very happy when you shop skims.com. Raphael, the other night, earlier this week, things didn't really go so well for the Atlanta Hawks. Eventually ended up losing by about what are we looking at? Close to about 30 points, 123-93 at the hands of the Boston Celtics. Who can really blame them at this point? They're the defending world champions. They've got so many pieces. They did it all without Jalen Brown, for crying out loud. How impressive was that? Jason Tatum was going off, I think something crazy like 26 in the first half. It's going to be really difficult to figure out a blueprint on how to beat this team. Nonetheless, this is a Hawks team, and I get it that this last year was last year, but had back-to-back games against Boston and found a way to beat Boston in both of those games. Don't know how they made it happen, but I know that they played with confidence. However, I understand the difficulty that's going to be this time around because they are just coming off of their fifth game in I think 7 days. The Atlanta Hawks. So what are some of the keys or just different things that you think it's going to take? Like if we take head coach Quin Snyder out and we put in insert head coach of the Atlanta Hawks, Raphael Haynes, right before you run your guys out there on the floor, and you have the dry erase marker on the dry erase board. What are you preaching to the guys? What is the one word, if you had to write one word on your dry erase board to say, here's how we're going to attack and go out there and be successful against Boston. We're going to do this. Fill in the blank. What is that this as you are the head coach? What are you telling the Atlanta Hawks about the game coming up on Tuesday?
Well, just I would spell it out. It'd be easy. P-R-A-Y.
Okay. Simple. Fair is fair.
Right.
Fair is fair.
I think, honestly, if one word, you said one word, right?
What, if you want, give me one word, give me multiple words. Whatever you are telling this team on what they're going to need to do to go out there and beat Boston.
Hustle. Defend, play fast. Because you see they got destroyed without Brown. But I think with this team, again, if this team comes out, they play fast and they get to a fast start, then we see good things. We saw it against the Knicks. Yes, this is Boston, we know, but still, we saw it against the Knicks. We saw it against the Bulls. We really believe that it was because of the back-to-back is why the legs got tired. You saw Trae settling for threes, but half-court threes at the end, which he really hasn't been doing that as far as at the crucial point of games, not like he did tonight. So I would say get out fast. If you get out fast, get out to a fast start. Let's say you get a 6-point lead. One thing about a team like this is young, that's inexperienced, with playing with each other. Once they get out fast, it builds confidence in this team, and everybody start playing well. I believe that's why they want Zachary to get out fast. When Zachary got out fast, he started playing well. His confidence grew as the game went. So I would say start out fast and you need Trae to distribute. Trae doesn't need to go off. I felt like when Trae doesn't shoot a lot with this team, that's when they play their best. With this team, that's when they play their best. Getting everybody involved. Everybody's head in the game. Then at some point you take over, then that's when he can score when he needs to. So that's it. You just got to get out fast, maybe get Boston. They're agitated, but if the team is feeling confident and they're playing their game, running a fast break, and not even the fast, doesn't always have to be a fast break because as we saw tonight, 12 fast break points, but it seemed like it was more. But I believe when you playing fast, you get the ball after after a made basket, go down the court. That's not considered a fast break. Go down the court, throw an alley-oop or something. Hey, that's 2 points. I mean, that's how you beat this team. Because this team, what they're going to do is they're going to shoot threes. We know that. They're going to shoot a lot of threes, and it could be one of those nights where the threes are not falling. If the threes are not falling and you're getting out, you got out fast and you playing well as the Hawks, hey man, you have a chance. That's all I gotta say. You have, and that's all you want in the fourth quarter is a chance.
It's a chance. Yeah.
That's all you want. They didn't have a chance Monday night.
Yeah.
But
No.
you just want a chance.
No, that makes sense. And listen, I mean, we already know that it's going to be a tough ask, right? We already know that it's going to be a tough assignment for every player on the floor. I think you got to take advantage of Boston's inability to be able to have many bigs on the floor that can score the basketball. Primarily, a lot of their bigs are coming from, the 1 through the 3 position, sometimes the 4, depending on Al Horford or sometimes Tillman doing all the little things, some of these bruisers in the middle that can rebound. You definitely got to be hitting the glass, rebounding. So I think that's the first thing, is just rebounding specifically on the offensive end, and preventing Boston to really like keeping the ball out of their hands as much as possible. The only time I think that Boston should be getting, as realistic or lack thereof that this may be, is they should be getting the ball from out of the net, preventing them from even getting offensive rebounds. If they making shots, I'm getting out on the break and maybe playing fast, but just also playing methodical, having a really good balance between the two and taking care of the basketball. I think they have 14 turnovers tonight. That's something that you can't afford to duplicate and replicate. And while your word might be PRAY, mine might be to that of a bird, PREY. Make Boston your prey. Go out there, make sure that you're catching up on your rest over the course of the next, 72 hours roughly. Just resting, maybe getting some shots up, shoot around, something real light, but going out there and making them your prey by watching as much game film as possible, and make sure that you're well rested for this game, because that's going to be something that is going to be very, very important, especially considering the fact that you're about to get up there and travel. So just try and get some shots up and go out there and just be confident. Do all the little things, getting on the ground after loose balls, creating second chance points and hustle points for yourself, doing all the little things. The ball should never be hitting the floor, rolling around on the floor. I'm jumping on it, getting after it. Scars and scrapes and rug burns or floor burns and everything that it takes in order, laying it all out there on the line, because that's exactly what it's going to take in order to beat this very, very tough Boston Celtics team. That'll be coming up on Tuesday night. I appreciate everybody for checking in with us here on the official postcast for the Atlanta Hawks, the Locked On Hawks postcast. Be sure to check out my dude Raphael, Raphael Haynes. I appreciate him for joining me on the evening today as well. Make sure that you check out his show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Of course, that's Eastern Standard Time. iHeartRadio. Check it out. Also, the 3-Point Conversion on Facebook as well as YouTube. Get ready to sign off. We'll see you guys in the next 72 hours. And appreciate everybody for chiming in. Make sure that you go give us a follow. And we'll see you then. Thanks for joining.